Hi, my name is Ashley Whiting, and this is my final project presentation for CIT225 database design and development. What is my project? I will design, refine, implement, and build back-end test cases for a relational database for the company Habby. What is Habby? Habby is a startup company that my brother-in-law is involved with, and so I thought I would take a crack at creating their database. Now, my project is to create a website for Habby employees so that they can log in and see their clients' information, the properties that they have invested in, their investors' information. So this is from the point of view of a Habby employee. What is Habby? Habby was created to make home ownership more manageable. They give you the 20% down so that you don't have to come up with as much money, so that also your mortgage payment is lower. They're not a loan, they're a co-investor into your home. So let's dive into the data. Here is my ERD, my entity relationship diagram. Now for the sake of time for my video, we won't go into every single table. We have our properties, property type, product type. We have clients, client type, investors, investor type, sales, departments, employees, system user, so that the employees, this data is to help the employees be able to log in. And last but not least, swag. And we do have, as you see, multiple foreign keys working with multiple different tables. Let's see how we can query against these tables to help us get information. All right, so this is going to the website. We see Habby user, please log in. And so then they would click this link to log in. Let's log in as me, Ashley@habby.com. And then we're going to log in and see our admin view. And the SQL that is being used along with some PHP and HTML coding to do that is select, we want the user ID, the email, and password from our system user table, where our user ID is 1 because my user ID is 1. So let's see a couple of tables and see how our queries will work on them. Let's start with our clients. This is just a view of all the clients that we have right now, and that SQL is just a simple select all from our clients table. If we want to edit a client, let's say that we need to change the client type for this particular client from 1 to 2, so we're changing it to 2. That CRUD statement would be an update statement. We're going to update the clients table. We're going to set the client type to 2, where the ID clients is 1. This particular client has an ID of 1. So we're updating that client type to 2. Let's say we come back a few days later and this client decides to pull out and no longer wants to work with Habby, so we need to delete that client. So our CRUD statement for this would be a simple delete from clients for ID clients equals 1. So there we had our select, our CRUD statement, we had our select. For read, we had our update, we had our delete. And our create, let's do a create statement. Let's add a new client. So let's insert into clients, first name, last name, client type, property ID, the values. Let's add George Page, give him a client type of 1, and his property ID is going to be 4. So now our CRUD statements all worked. We have deleted the Adam Smith client. He's no longer in our list of clients. We did update him before we deleted him, but now he's gone. And we have added a new client, George Page, with all of the appropriate information. So our CRUD statements all worked for our clients table. Let's look at one more table. I want to show you investors just because it's a little more to it than just a simple select all. In this view, we are seeing a list of all of our investors, but we're also seeing which properties they are investing in. So this is, we want to see from the investors table, we want to see the entity name, the investor type. Let's see, for example, our Donald Trump, that's his entity name. He's a private investor. And we also want to see the property IDs that he's investing in. So we need to use an inner join. We need to join the investors table with our properties table so that we can see which properties belong to each investor. But let's go, the CRUD statements I want to do is on the properties table. Let's do some CRUD statements on our properties table and see how it affects this display right here. And if our join statements worked, then it shouldn't be a problem. Let's look at our properties. This is again a simple select all from properties. This is all of our properties with all of their information. And on this particular view, I didn't want to just have the investor ID. I wanted to actually show the name. Oops, excuse me. So just for this little code right here to display the name, we needed to select the entity name from investors, do another inner join on properties, where the property investor ID equals the investor's ID. And that's how we're grabbing that name on this. Let's do some cred though. Let's add a new property. Let's insert into properties a new address, 4022 Fort Circle in Highland, Utah. Size is 3,185 square feet. Property type 2, product type 2, investor ID 1. So we're going to add another property for Mr. Donald Trump. Let's say that we put in the wrong size, so we need to update that property that we just added. We need to update the size to the correct size of 3,385 square feet. So where our ID property equals 4, because our last property that we added, that we inserted, has an ID of 4, we want to update its size to the new size value. We also, at the same time, need to delete property ID 3. That property is no longer being invested with Habby, so we need to delete those. So now let's take a look at what our new Habby properties view looks like. We have deleted property 3, 1, 2, 4, so there's no more property 3. And we have updated the size of our property 4 to the correct size. So let's see what that did to our view of investors. Our join statement worked correctly. Let's pull that up one more time. Every time we run this page, it's querying this select statement. And we did some things. We did some cred statements on our property table. We added one more ID to Donald Trump, and that property that we deleted was invested by the institution of money. And now they have no properties to invest because that was the only one they had invested. So our property table, our cred statements on our properties table affected our investor table exactly the way we wanted it to. All right, my obstacles that I encountered in this. After creating my first entity relational, ERD, I needed to add more foreign keys. I did not think about all the foreign keys ahead of time, so I should have done that better. I realized after the fact, after my ERD was created, that the properties table, for example, needed a client's ID foreign key so that we could create that relationship between properties and clients. But that's just one example. I forgot many other foreign keys that I had to go back and add to my ERD after I inserted all the data into my tables. I also kept getting a foreign key constraint error when querying against the properties table. But then I realized that was because my foreign key column was grabbing the investor type, not the investor ID. So when creating the database, I should have been more careful about which columns I was choosing for my foreign key. And the other problem I ran into, similar, but to remember all the foreign keys that I did create when inserting data, I needed to do a better job of inserting data in order. For example, I would insert rows into the employees table before inserting any data into my system user table. So I would get a constraint violation because the system user ID associated with that employee didn't exist yet. And so that was my biggest frustration, was having to go back and create foreign keys where they needed to be. I enjoyed this project. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Thanks so much.